Monarchy. A monarchy is a form of government where sovereignty is vested in a single individual, usually a king or queen, who typically holds the position for life and passes it down through hereditary lines. Monarchies are one of the oldest forms of government, dating back to ancient civilizations. In a monarchy, the ruler often symbolizes the continuity and unity of the state. There are two main types of monarchies: absolute and constitutional. In an absolute monarchy, the monarch has virtually unlimited power, making decisions without the need for consent from a legislative body. Historically, monarchs claimed divine right, meaning their authority was believed to come directly from a higher power. Examples include Louis XIII of France, who famously declared, "L'État c'est moi," I am the state, and modern-day Saudi Arabia, where the king has significant control over governance. Conversely, in a constitutional monarchy, the monarch's powers are limited by a constitution or laws, and they often serve as a ceremonial figurehead while elected officials govern the country. The United Kingdom, where the monarchy coexists with a parliamentary system, is a classic example. Here, the monarch's role is symbolic, while real political power is exercised by the prime minister and parliament. Monarchies provide a sense of stability and continuity, but their hereditary nature can also lead to ineffective or unpopular rulers. Moreover, in absolute monarchies, the concentration of power in one individual can result in abuses of power. Socialism. Socialism is an economic and political system where the means of production, distribution, and exchange are owned or regulated by the community as a whole, typically through the state. The primary goal of socialism is to reduce or eliminate social and economic inequalities by redistributing wealth and resources more equitably. In a socialist state, the government often controls key industries such as healthcare, education, and transportation to ensure that all citizens have access to essential services. Socialism emphasizes collective ownership and the idea that wealth should be distributed based on need rather than market forces. This contrasts with capitalism, where private ownership and profit drive economic activity. There are various forms of socialism, ranging from democratic socialism, where socialist principles are implemented within a democratic framework, to more authoritarian forms, where the state exerts significant control over all aspects of life. Countries like Sweden and Denmark practice democratic socialism, combining a market economy with strong social welfare programs. Meanwhile, nations like Cuba and the former Soviet Union have implemented more centralized, state-controlled versions of socialism. Socialism's focus on equality and social welfare is appealing, but it also faces criticisms. Critics argue that socialism can reduce incentives for hard work and innovation, as wealth and resources are distributed more equally regardless of individual effort. Additionally, the centralization of economic control can lead to inefficiencies and a lack of responsiveness to the needs of the people. Democracy. Democracy is a system of government where power is vested in the people, either directly or through elected representatives. The fundamental principle of democracy is that the people are the ultimate source of authority, and the government should reflect the will of the majority while protecting the rights of minorities. Direct democracy allows citizens to vote on laws and policies directly, as seen in ancient Athens. However, most modern democracies are representative democracies, where citizens elect officials to make decisions on their behalf. These officials are accountable to the people and can be removed from office through regular elections. Democracy is characterized by the protection of individual rights, political freedoms, and the rule of law. It is built on the idea that all citizens should have a voice in how they are governed. Some of the world's most democratic countries include Norway, Sweden, and New Zealand, known for their strong institutions, transparent governance, and respect for human rights. However, democracy is not without its challenges. It can be unstable, especially in countries with weak institutions or deep social divisions. Frequent changes in leadership and policy can lead to uncertainty and inconsistency. Additionally, democracy requires an informed and engaged citizenry, which can be difficult to maintain. Autocracy. Autocracy is a system of government where power is concentrated in the hands of a single individual or a small group. The autocrat holds absolute authority and makes decisions without needing approval from others, such as a legislature or judiciary. Autocracies can take various forms, including absolute monarchies, dictatorships, or one-party states. In an absolute monarchy, like those in Saudi Arabia or Brunei, the king or queen has almost total control over the government. In a dictatorship, a single leader often comes to power through force or manipulation and maintains control through coercion, censorship, and the suppression of opposition. North Korea, under the Kim dynasty, is a modern example of an autocratic regime. Autocracies can provide strong, centralized leadership, which can be beneficial in times of crisis or when rapid decision-making is needed. However, the lack of checks and balances makes them prone to abuses of power and corruption. Citizens in autocratic regimes often have limited political freedoms and few opportunities to influence government decisions. Federalism. Federalism is a system of government where sovereignty is divided between a central authority and constituent political units, such as states or provinces. In a federal system, the central government handles national issues like defense and foreign policy, while regional governments manage local matters like education and transportation. The United States is a well-known example of federalism. The U.S. Constitution delineates the powers of the federal government and reserves other powers to the states. This allows for a balance of power, with different levels of government addressing the needs of citizens more effectively. Federalism can be advantageous in large, diverse countries, where local governments are better positioned to address the specific needs of their population. However, it can also lead to disparities in resources and services between regions, as wealthier areas may have more resources than poorer ones. Oligarchy. Oligarchy is a form of government where power is concentrated in the hands of a small, elite group. This group, often composed of wealthy individuals, military leaders, or influential families, controls the political, economic, and social affairs of the state. Oligarchies are often characterized by a lack of political competition and limited opportunities for broader participation in governance. The ruling elite may use their power to advance their own interests at the expense of the broader population. While oligarchies can be stable and efficient in decision-making, they often lead to significant social and economic inequalities. Wealth and power become concentrated in the hands of a few, leading to widespread dissatisfaction and potential unrest. Republic. A republic is a form of government where the state is considered a public matter, and the head of state is an elected or appointed official rather than a hereditary monarch. In a republic, the people have the right to participate in the governance of the country, either directly or through elected representatives. Republics can take various forms, including democratic republics, where officials are elected by the people, and authoritarian republics, where power is concentrated in the hands of a single ruler or party. The United States, France, and India are examples of democratic republics, while Syria and North Korea are authoritarian republics. The key feature of a republic is that the government is accountable to the people, and leaders can be removed from office if they fail to meet the needs of the population. However, republics are not immune to corruption or abuse of power, particularly in systems with weak institutions or a lack of political competition. Communism. Communism is a political and economic ideology that seeks to create a classless society where all property and resources are communally owned and wealth is distributed according to need. The goal of communism is to eliminate social and economic inequalities by abolishing private ownership of the means of production. In a communist state, the government controls all aspects of the economy, including production, distribution, and exchange. The ruling party, often led by an authoritarian figure, makes all major decisions regarding the economy and society. China, Cuba, Vietnam, Laos, and North Korea are examples of countries that have implemented communism, though most have incorporated elements of capitalism in recent decades. Communism's emphasis on equality and collective ownership has inspired movements worldwide, but it has also faced significant challenges. In practice, communist regimes have often been associated with authoritarianism, human rights abuses, and economic inefficiencies. The concentration of power in the hands of the state can lead to corruption, repression, and a lack of individual freedoms. Anarchism. Anarchism is a political philosophy that advocates for the abolition of the state and all forms of hierarchical authority. Anarchists believe that society should be organized through voluntary cooperation and mutual aid, rather than through coercive institutions like governments. In an anarchist society, people would govern themselves through decentralized, non-hierarchical organizations, such as cooperatives and collectives. Anarchism opposes all forms of domination and seeks to create a society based on freedom, equality, and solidarity. While anarchism is often associated with chaos or disorder, many anarchists argue that true freedom and social order can only be achieved by eliminating the state and other forms of coercive authority. However, anarchism has rarely been implemented on a large scale, and its feasibility as a system of government remains a subject of debate. Presidential. In a presidential system, the president serves as both the head of state and the head of government. The president is elected by the people or an electoral body and holds significant executive power, including the ability to veto legislation, appoint officials, and command the military. The United States is the most prominent example of a presidential system. The president is elected separately from the legislature and serves a fixed term. This system creates a clear separation of powers between the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, ensuring that no single branch becomes too powerful. Presidential systems can provide strong, stable leadership, but they also carry the risk of concentrating too much power in the hands of one individual. The separation of powers can also lead to gridlock if the president and the legislature are controlled by different political parties. Parliamentary. In a parliamentary system, the head of government is the prime minister, who is typically the leader of the majority party in the legislature. The head of state may be a monarch or a ceremonial president. The prime minister and the cabinet are accountable to the parliament and can be removed from office through a vote of no confidence. The United Kingdom is a classic example of a parliamentary system where the monarch serves as the head of state and the prime minister leads the government. Parliamentary systems often feature a close relationship between the executive and legislative branches, leading to more efficient lawmaking. However, parliamentary systems can also result in unstable governments, particularly in countries with fragmented party systems. If no single party can secure a majority, coalitions must be formed, which can lead to compromises and policy inconsistency. Constitutional. A constitutional government is one in which the powers of the government are limited by a constitution or other fundamental laws. The Constitution serves as the supreme law of the land, outlining the structure of government, the rights of citizens, and the limits of governmental power. Constitutional governments can take many forms, including constitutional monarchies, where a monarch's powers are restricted by the Constitution, and constitutional republics, where elected officials govern according to the Constitution. The United States and the United Kingdom are examples of constitutional governments, with written and unwritten constitutions, respectively. Constitutional governments provide a framework for protecting individual rights and ensuring that the government operates within the rule of law. However, constitutions can be challenging to amend, and constitutional governments can become rigid and unresponsive to social and political changes. Totalitarianism. Totalitarianism is an extreme form of authoritarianism where the state seeks to control all aspects of public and private life. In a totalitarian regime, the government suppresses political opposition, controls the media, and uses propaganda, censorship, and surveillance to maintain power. Totalitarian regimes often have a single ruling party led by a dictator or an elite group. Nazi Germany under Adolf Hitler and the Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin are historical examples of totalitarianism. In these regimes, the state sought to control every aspect of life, including the economy, education, and even citizens' thoughts and beliefs. Totalitarianism allows for rapid and decisive action, but it also leads to severe repression and the elimination of individual freedoms. The concentration of power in the hands of a few often results in widespread human rights abuses and a lack of accountability.